guys, and this is the first installment to my series that will help you become great at Game Maker. This probably isn't, well, it's the first video, but it probably isn't an actual tutorial. It's more like an overview of the basic functions of all these folders over here and what they can do. So first of all, we got sprites here. Sprites is a huge part of your game. Sprites, in the sprites folder, it will hold the drawings of your characters, the drawings of your enemies, your platforms, your menu screens, and a lot more. Even your text, you can sprite. Sounds is basically, it's kind of obvious what sounds are. In the sound folder, this will hold your background music, the music that is played in your menus and possibly your stages, and your sound effects. Your sound effects which will be played in game actually. Backgrounds is another huge part of your game. Sprites and backgrounds together is a huge part of the game because these are the only really drawing parts in the game. The rest of it is actually programming. So the better your game looks, the more people will play it, most likely. It's always good to have good graphics. Paths is a very easy to use function, and in the paths folder it will hold paths, and with these paths you'll be able to let your objects follow a certain path. Like you'll create a line and your object will move along that path. And I'm not even getting into scripts yet. It's way too advanced for any beginner at Game Maker. Fonts is used to select a specific font for any text that you may have in your game. And timelines is a very helpful part. It can be very helpful at times. It's great to use. This makes it so that you can make it so that certain actions are done at a certain time. And you have your objects. Your object is actually what's going to be in your game, like your characters, your enemies. You use your objects for your platforms, use it for your menu. It's actually the programming part for your sprites. All your sprites will be programmed in the objects folder. And rooms is basically the foundation of your game. Rooms is where everything will take place. All your menu screens, your stages will be in your room. You can't even run the game to test it out without a room. And game information, this is where you'll put all the information that you want the player to see. For instance, in game, when you press F2, it'll bring up your game information. You can put basically the name of your game. I'm gonna name it game, and you put 2-player, whatever you want about it, stuff about your game and whatnot. Yeah. And then your global game settings. With your global game settings, you can set it to full screen if you want. You can fix the scale. You can keep aspect ratio, full scale. There's a whole bunch of options here. Like, do you want to display your cursor or not? Will you allow people to maximize the video? Will you allow it to make it bigger? And resolution, you can set the resolution of your screen, how big you want it to be. And here you have a whole bunch of function keys, what you want the function keys to do. And your loading, you can change your loading image for your game. You can change the icon of your game with an ICO file. Constants, yeah, we'll get into that later. And the rest of this stuff. Errors, will you want them to display error messages or not? Because if you mess up in your scripts, you'll get an error message, but we're not really getting into scripting yet. And the info, author of your game, information down here, information of your game. Well, the information section is basically like the game information I showed you previously. And extension packages is only used in the Pro Edition. The Pro Edition is $20, but I've never bought it because, you know, I feel that the light version is just as effective as Pro if used correctly. And that's it for this Game Maker overview. And goodbye, everybody.